On Tuesday, August 1st, 44 of us began our journey to Germany and Switzerland. Anticipation was building as we loaded the bus, which took us to the Minneapolis-St. Paul airport. Our first flight took us to Detroit. From Detroit, we boarded a 747 which took us to the Frankfurt, Germany airport. As of the year 2000, Germany has 81 million inhabitants. 17 million of these folks live on the eastern side of Germany, while 64 million live on the western side. Berlin is the capital and the largest city. Frankfurt has 78,000 inhabitants and is a banking center. Our bus ride to Rudesheim takes us into the Rhine River Valley. The Rhine River is Europe's most important inland waterway. The river rises in the Alps with two headstreams and empties into the North Sea in the Netherlands. This part of the Rhine River Valley is well known for its vineyards and wines. Our first stop on our journey was the Niederwald Monument. It is approximately 108 feet high. The main figure is the Germania. It was made of bronze and sandstone. In Rudesheim, our groups stayed at the Hotel Trapp and Central Hotel. Once settled into our rooms, we had time to do some sightseeing.
This house is standing here since 1684. It's quite an old piece.
Sightseeing included a short train ride through town and the outskirts of town. Dinner that evening was at our respective hotels. After dinner, we enjoyed a private wine tasting session at a small winery in town.
My name is Chris, first of all. I'm studying winemaking at the moment, so I hope I can explain to you a few things about our style of winemaking, but I can tell you a few words about this region, and of course very few words about our wines as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, you all have the last wine now? Yes? So, cheers, Prost, whatever. Cheers.
Once we had our fill of wine, many of us leisurely walked back to our hotels. Oh, and of course, stopping at the gift shops on the way. And with a boat tour of a small section of the Rhine River. We began in Rudesheim and ended at St. Goshausen. Goshausen is a small fishing village which became a town in 1324. Ruin Ehrenfels. These are ruins of castles used in the 15th century to house treasures of Mainz Cathedral during the war. Castle Rheinstein, built around 900 as a custom house for the empire. By the 17th century, the castle had fallen into disrepair. Prince Frederick Wilhelm of Prussia bought it in 1825, and it was one of the first castles he rebuilt. Castle Reichenstein, built in the 11th century. It was destroyed in 1282. In 1899, it was renovated and now houses a hotel, a restaurant, and valuable pieces of furniture, a collection of arms. This is Castle Sonic. It was built in the early 11th century. It was inhabited by a nest of robber barons in the 13th century. In the 19th century, it was rebuilt. Cummines Heimburn, built in or about 1300. Later, the castle fell into decay but was rebuilt in the 19th century. Was erected by the Archbishop of Cologne in the year 1200. It has remained in ruins since its destruction in 1689. The town of Baccarat. Baccarat has the best preserved town fortification from the 14th century in the Middle Rhine area. The main St. Peter's Church was built around 1100 and contains valuable medieval frescoes. Burg Stahlich above Baccarat. This was the seat of Count Palatine in the 12th century and is currently a youth hostel. Burg Gutenfels was built around 1200 by the Falkenstein family. Schönberg Castle near Oberweissel. Around the 14th century it was destroyed by King Louis XIV. After 1885 it was partly rebuilt. It is now part youth hostel and part hotel. This is the Lorelei. The slate rock is the subject of many legends. Burgkatz was erected in 1371. In 1805 Napoleon had the castle blown up, but it was rebuilt at the turn of the century. Burg Rheinfels, which is located near the town of St. Gors. Construction of this castle began in 1245. Wednesday afternoon we had lunch and toured in the town of St. Gorshausen.
Now we are actually in St. Gorshausen in the old part. This was the marketplace here where we are standing now, and here we can see several old houses. For example, this one from 1532, and this was the town hall and also a school. That little rhyme says that everybody know me, and the old one had to come here to vote, and the young one had to come here to learn. So that means that it was the town hall and it was also the school. And also you can see this little narrow
So it's about 500 years old now.
actually they have go all along the
Get out of the way here quick.
Side now.
Why I got that?
That's gonna stay. That's gonna
For that little piece of the earlier fortification wall, here was the end, and it went up to the fortress, and on top of it the fortress was sitting. So it was covered here, ended up, and here they had, where there is that little bridge, here they had also a gate. So they could control who is entering to the city.
My name is Walter Miller, I'm your tour guide, and I'll take you through this castle for the next 50 minutes, even if you don't want to go. Over there, you'll see two large trees sticking out on top of the first hills. with a gap between them. Waters for the animals, milk for little kids, and beer can only be found in monasteries. So the knights drank wine, and they drank about, no, they drank not much. They drank about 5 liters a day. But wine at that time had only 3 to 4% of alcohol, and it was so sour we today wouldn't even use it as vinegar. Now, who wanted to have a sample? In times, people also cooked with pots, just like we do today. But these pots are hanging in hooks over the open fire. And in case that the meal doesn't get ready fast enough, you can lower these pots deeper into the fire by using this mechanism. Well, in fact, it's just an ice box. They collected the ice in winter from rivers and lakes and stored it in the cellar beneath hay and sand, brought it up again in summer, and put it in here. And since cold air sinks down, the food in here, for example, milk, cheese, or butter, was cool. This is the living quarter of the noble family. It's also the only bedroom inside all of the castle that can be heated by the stove in that corner. We have in here a bed with curtains at the top, and the curtains are for keeping the warmth inside of the bed. The top is for keeping spiders and bugs out of it. This bed is big enough for 3 to 4 adults. People at that time were quite skinny and a little bit shorter than we are. The average height of a man was about 5'6" to 5'8", and the average height of a woman was about 5 feet. And these servants didn't bring any food, they brought a table. Set up with everything that was needed for a meal, and they carried it out as well with all the chaos the mice left through the big door at that side. Most pictures you can see here are not medieval. All the big pictures around the room were added when the castle was restored at the beginning of the 20th century. They look so medieval, however, because we had in here damage by water. No, it was not the Rhine coming up here. The water came through the ceiling, ran down the walls, and washed away some of the color, and that's why everything looks so old. This is a full plate armor, a so-called right into wall relief. It was used as a protection for women against rapings, in case that you got robbed on dangerous mountain ridges or dark woods. Those pictures over there. And the funny thing between the pictures is a horse's helmet. Right? So this one is the corner only. You can tell it by the hood, which is there for laying in the lance. We have a lance above the windows. This armor is weighing about 80 pounds. And a knight who falls off horseback inside can easily stand up alone and fight on, because he's trained to do so. They were also trained to climb over walls inside armor. This is a so-called neck violin. And the collar goes down around the head, and then one hand through each hole, palms to your face.
Okay.
One through there, and one through here,
One
there.
forward, tap. One forward.
Palms to your face, and then no, it won't fit around your neck. I'll have to take someone else.
Here's the skinny one.
Okay, one through each hole, and then palms to your face, and then it's locked. And then you can pull around your prisoner in any way you want, because the prisoner can't do anything against it. And if the prisoner wants to rest his, or in this case her hands, the head will go down as well. Now, if you might be interested in buying one, and the first step of torturing is always just showing a torture chamber. They open the door, let them have a look, close the door again. Most people would confess at that point everything they had done, they hadn't done, and they would never do. It was glowing white. Then the master came, about 20 years of age or older, and worked and formed from the now very hard and soft metal what was needed, perhaps such a horseshoe. They married at an age of about 14 to 15, and died after a long-lasting life full of hard work at an age of 40.
After Marksburg Castle, we headed back to Rudesheim. A special musical treat met us at the doors of our hotel. Friday we left Rudesheim and headed towards the Black Forest, which is on the extreme southwestern corner of Germany. The Black Forest is known for its dark, pine-covered hills and is inhabited by the elves who carve the cuckoo clocks.
The names of the farmhouses were often named after the people who lived in the house.
Our first stop is an open-air museum in Gutach.
This is, as you can see, is the kitchen, which is a fairly big kitchen.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Smoke.
Smoke, yes. There was, you can imagine when the farmer's wife came down the morning, particularly during the winter, this would have been a very cold place, very smoky, and she would probably have ice on the floor, and the saucepan would have been all iced up when she came down. There was no running water here, no light, and the light bulb up there wouldn't have existed in those days. The person who owned the house had to sell the house because he just couldn't keep it, possibly financial reasons. It was then sold to 3 different families. So there were 3 families living in this house as from 1812. That's why there's the 2 tables in here. There was 2 families shared this room. The kitchen had 3 stoves in it, which was used by all 3 families. And there was a room the other side of the kitchen where one family used as a living room. They used to put apples in the trough here, and they used to run the grindstone millstone backwards and forwards to crush the chaff comes out here. Through here. This is also a carnival figure for the area around here. It's called in German. It's called the Kleierkotzer. In English, you'd say possibly the. They actually dress up. They have these masks are made out of wood. And this contraption here is basically a side product of the whole system. This was used for the chaff pupa.
We move on to Triberg now, which is the center of cuckoo clock making. Here we had an opportunity to purchase our cuckoo clocks. After visiting the Lion Monument, we had time to walk and shop. Many people crossed the famous wooden Chapel Bridge. Anna Marie often said, that the smart car could be used as an ashtray for many American vehicles. Once we were walked and shopped out, we headed to our hotel, located just outside of Lucerne. Sunday morning, we crossed the gentle but scenic Brunig Pass to Brian's to visit a woodcarving factory and shop. Brian's is the center of Swiss woodcarving. Here we get a guided tour of the factory and even have a little time for shopping.
And this is approximately halfway through the process of carving the bear. So from our block of wood that we started with, we're approximately 1.5 days on at this stage. So an awful lot of work gone into this already, but still it hasn't got much detail. This one, however, is full of detail. It has hundreds of chisel cuts on the surface, and this one's finished as far as carving goes now. So that's taken about 3 days to get it to that stage. Normally we then take it away and colour it. Just a normal wood stain you can buy in any hardware. And I have to tell you that it's nearly as old as the United States. 220 years old, the clock.
How old is this one?
1895.
And then the door is shut.
And it's very valuable. Oh. And it's all over very quickly, isn't it?
After learning about wood carving, we drove to Lauterbrunnen, located in the valley of the waterfalls.
So milky color, milky green, because it's a melted glacier water. That's why they call it glacier milk.
Here we will board a cogwheel train that takes us into the mountains to Klein Scheidegg for spectacular views of Jungrau, Eiger, and Monk mountains. Time here to walk, shop, and visit the casino. Our feet are sore and shopping bags full. We head to the hotel for dinner. Monday morning brought us into a beautiful day, a perfect day to visit a small farm near Emmental.
Mit 18 Kühen 100.000 Milchkontingent.
They are a bit more than 50 acres they own. They have 18 cows and 100,000 contingents of milk. That means they want to give 100,000 liters of milk to the cheesemaker or...
No. It depends. It's all mixed now. You know, in July we have snow and in winter we have sun. And
Das ist ein besserer Sport, und Hochzeitsgesellschaft führen.
Was ist der Sport? Wackelfahren?
Clean.
And you can also see that the Swiss farmer loves to have very special moments.
This is an Appenzellhaus and this is the house from the Wand.
Wir haben rund 80 Tage Winter.
Von uns in rausnehmen, die aufforsten.
Ja, ich tue es eigentlich selber verglühen.
One is a Swiss horse. Military service and have horses. You can have a warm-blooded horse to take home. Military service and have horses. You can have a warm-blooded horse, what we call an Eidgenosse. When you are in the what we call an Eidgenosse.
So geht es in die Pfanne.
With this, it goes right into those cans. You know, so you get a liquid type of manure, and it goes on the grass. The land goes all the way up to that tree in the middle of the field.
Und dann haben wir es nachher so verteilen.
How does he keep it so clean?
And these are also their cows, and they put the manure all over this here.
Und das ist das Kraftfahrzeug.
And this is the tractor. They can put 11 pieces of bread in this oven. As you can see, everyone has a special hot plate, so you can. It's a traditional way actually of making bread in a modern system.
Is that run by electricity?
Yeah.
After visiting a dairy farm, we then go to the cheese factory.
This show dairy here is a Emmental show dairy, and if you make Emmental cheese, and it takes 2 tests of every milk. One test he puts away, and the other one he has a. So here, after 90 minutes, the whole mass is pumped through those 4 metal hoops. At the moment, we make 3 times a day for Emmental. They stay in here for 24 hours, and they take some salt in and release some water. They come together, and that's why we have the holes in the cheese. And because it's warm, they expand. It does a bacterial test for the milk.
It was so funny, this underwear.
Well, my brother-in-law says always, you can't do this job because you don't have the knowledge for cutting knives. The cheeses here are cleaned with brushes and salty water. That's different. The Emmental cheese are cleaned with a dry cloth.
Now we continue on to our hotel for dinner. Obviously, farming and cheesemaking are very tiring jobs.
And we'll sing it through for you, then we'll come along, and then when you're done singing the song, we go 1, 2, 3, Sofa. And it goes I'm Prosit der Gemütlichkeit. I'm Prosit der Gemütlichkeit. Prost. Okay? You gotta come up and help me.
Super!
Yeah. Yeah.
After enjoying one final look at our surroundings, we were off. Our Austrian experience was limited to a trip around the lake and having our passports stamped at the border. Which is considered to be the finest example of Rococo architecture in the world. For today was our hotel in Oberammergau. Ober means above and Ammergau is a river. Therefore, Oberammergau means above Ammergau. Men, women, and children of Oberammergau perform this play, The Passion of Jesus. They are fulfilling a vow their ancestors made in 1633 when their lives were threatened by the plague. Oberammergau is also famous for the window boxes and paintings on many of the homes and business. Thursday's schedule included one of the castles built by King Ludwig II of Bavaria. The castle was built in 1870 through 1872 and then enlarged in 1870 castle. Hidden in the woods, the castle and its location accentuated the king's desire for solitude before, with new stone facades. The interior decoration was completed in 1878. Every room is spectacular with ornate design. Unfortunately, because of copyright laws, we were not able to videotape the inside of the castle. In 1869, King Ludwig II acquired the area around Linderhof. His father Maximilian II already possessed some of this property. After leaving Linderhof Castle, we set our sights on Munich. On our way, though, we stopped at the monastery and visited a church. The monastery was built in the 18th century, and it also houses an elementary school and a high school. Munich is the capital of the state of Bavaria. Here we see the twin towers of Our Lady's Church. Here we received a walking tour and a bus tour.
Here I would like to give you a short information on the history of the place. Munich is fairly old, more than 840 years old. One more remark, perhaps you have looked around Munich and think we don't have a skyline. No skyscrapers, no really high houses. The reason is, here we still stick to the old law of former centuries that says no building in the center shall be higher than the two towers of Our Lady's Church. And they are 98.5 meters high. I want to introduce you to this house here. It's the oldest stone house.
Here we are visiting the grounds of Nymphenburg Palace. One sight not to miss in Munich is the Glockenspiel. We waited patiently for 5 o'clock p.m. when the famous cuckoo clock with life-size figures is set into motion. Friday's activities began with a visit to Dachau concentration camp. On March 22, 1933, the first German concentration camp was set up near Dachau on the grounds of the former ammunition factory. Political opponents, Jews, clergymen, and so-called undesirable elements were to be isolated here as enemies of the National Socialist regime. In 1937, the camp originally planned for 5,000 persons. The prisoners had to build a larger camp, which was completed in 1938, Dachau.
Let eternal light shine upon them, O Lord, with thy saints forever, for thou art merciful. Eternal rest grant them, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon them.
Normally they put only one dead body to the same time, but as close to the end, so as longer the camp worked, they had as more dead bodies because they became sick. This was red. The Jews had always the David star, and then the Gypsies had another kind, so each one had its own sign, and in the beginning in Auschwitz everybody get the number burned in the skin, but after a while there were so many that they had no time anymore. So only in the first years they got numbered.
And 6,000 prisoners registered between 1933 and 1945. In addition, however, many prisoners were taken to Dachau without being registered. These are the barracks that housed the prisoners. Rotenburg on the Tauber was our next destination. The road we traveled to reach Rotenburg is called the Romantic Road because of the beautiful scenery. We received a walking tour in Rotenburg and had some time to visit various souvenir and wood carving shops located on the inside of the fort.
For the chains to pull up the drawbridge, down there was of course a moat, and out of these holes they poured boiling oil and had pitch, had tar on the enemy. Chains to pull up the drawbridge, down there was of course a moat, and out of these holes they... Let's have a look down there. It's anyway the most beautiful view.
Gee, this is pretty.
The begonias.
Yes.
I think that looks
Okay.
Get the picture now.
Oh, beautiful.
It's interesting because have a closer look. The trunk is cut off, another one is grafted. The trunk, it's an acacia, and on top a weeping elm. And I only know weeping willow, so weeping elm. Walls. The inner walls have of course disappeared. They used the stones to build the next wall. And this is now a wine pub. It opens in the late afternoon to drink Franconian wine or beer. And it's called Zur Hölle, which means hell. And this is the devil hanging in the sign. You can go to hell in Rothenburg, but you will like it. It's a nice and comfortable place. Therefore, the butchers used to sell their meat and sausages, and upstairs festivals have taken place.
In exchange for their very sounds. The Son of Man will come with his Father's glory, accompanied by his angels.
This forever was our tour leader, Anna Marie. She put up with 44 of us, and I think that definitely is a valid. Let's give her a standing ovation.
Okay, now let's for everybody. Everybody.
Our final evening, we thanked those who made our trip so special and celebrated Germany because Saturday morning brought us a day of travel. We were homeward bound.